You did well, but our work has only just begun.
What is that supposed to mean?
In order for me to control the rift, I needed 3 keys. And as you can tell, I only possess 2 of them. And the 3rd ring is not exactly easy to acquire. It belongs to a dark candidate, and I have already summoned him. He will arrive very soon. You have watched their channel for years, won their little prizes, made a few connections with their former producers, and even somewhat collaborated with the nostalgia critic himself.
Oh my god, it's the nostalgia critic. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh man, I'm such a huge fan.
Don't talk back, Magnet T-Rex.
It's Magnetrex, man.
It's a motherfucking T-Rex, bitch!
But when it came to your last review on their movie, they decided to block you on Twitter.
Like the cowards that they are.
I just discovered some new information about our associates that you probably want to know. This candidate is weak to 2 things: a living being of pure innocence and filth. If you find the filth, you will find your weapon.
I need you to fight by my side.
Alright, you win. I'll do what you say. Filthy. Of course!
And once the rings and the rift are under my control, you will be greatly rewarded. You have my word on that. I mean, don't you want this realm to be corrected?
Well, folks, here we are. My name is Magnetrex, and welcome to the 50th episode of TheBoobTube. And let me just say that we have certainly come a long way over these last 4 years, from reviewing the works of content creators, both large and small, to a few fan-filmed superhero movies, and even a few very terrible mainstream movies as well as a couple of controversial videos that pretty much led to a few blocks from the content creators themselves. Yeah, it certainly has been a fun ride. But at the same time, I've met a few new awesome friends along the way, collaborated with different content creators both near and far from different countries throughout the world, and earned the respect and appreciation from a lot of YouTubers and content creators as well, which I would never thought in a million years that would happen. Yeah, as stressful as it might be to make these videos from time to time, it can be very rewarding in the long run, to be honest with you. So after 49 episodes, there is one video series in particular that I've always wanted to sink my greasy teeth into. But I never really got around to it, mostly because it wasn't really the right time to do so. Until now. For one thing, this series has been dead for quite a long time, and at the same time, if I'm going to fight this last dark candidate, I need to find the filth, and I finally discovered what that filth is. That filth is none other than Filthy Frank. Filthy Frank was a satire comedy channel on YouTube which stars the now famous musician George Joji Miller. His channel ran from 2011 to 2017, and during that time had amassed millions of subscribers and viewers from his edgy comedy and antics. He would make a wide variety of things, from anti-vlogs to catchy music videos, and even eating raviolis at the park while making orgasmic sounds out loud.
It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank.
But there was a lot more to these videos than what they appear to be. A lore, you might say, one of which that entails the struggles of one man and a group of his friends to save all the realms throughout the Omniverse from a very evil and very contrived little angry black spandex man. Bear with me because that is only just the beginning. So before I possibly meet my utter demise, I want to get right into this video series and pick apart this lore and see where it takes us. Seriously? Are you really going to do an interview right now?
Well, he does have some time.
For real? Thank you. So without further ado, let's take a look at the complete lore of The Filthy Frank Show. So you may be asking yourself, how does a lore like The Filthy Frank Show actually begin? Well, like all great stories, a round of rock, paper, scissors. Our story begins with Pink Guy and Red Dick challenging each other in the rock, paper, scissors arena, where Pink Guy wins the round and is ecstatic with joy. A little too ecstatic if you ask me. Red Dick is furious and dispatches Prometheus on Pink Guy, who roughs him up a bit. However, Pink Guy calls for backup as he summons Chin Chin, the cruelest, meanest, angriest, and a little gay Dark Lord in all of the Omniverse. So, how do you stop a dark entity like Chin Chin? Well, Just as simple as throwing a garbage can over his bitch-ass back. Yeah, just like that. After the Dark Lord Shinshin was killed by Prometheus and has not been seen for 6,000 chromosomes, all was well within the Omniverse until one day Frank gets a warning from Safari Man telling him that the Dark Lord is coming. Frank doesn't believe a single word that he says until he decides to call Shinshin out himself. Little did he know that summoning the Dark Lord would have terrifying consequences, as Frank is in dismay by his all-powerful presence. Yeah, terrifying indeed. Shinshin returns as he demands sacrifices from Frank after being embarrassed by Prometheus. So Shinshin demands that he will take Salamander Man. Frank refuses and sicks Lemon on the Dark Lord, and an epic battle ensues. However, the powers of Citrus were not enough as he makes quick work on Lemon and takes Salamander Man to the realm of Jacksonville. This makes both Frank and Pink Eye very upset. However, Frank has a possible solution as he tells his viewers to sacrifice something in order to please Shinshin. With Salamander Man under the possession of Shinshin, Frank and Red Dick travel to the Rock Paper Scissors arena to present the fans' sacrifices to the Dark Lord. As he and Red Dick finally make their way to the arena where they both are greeted by Pink Eye. Frank senses that the Dark Lord is coming and dispatches Pink Eye to warn everybody around the world. And what better way to warn everyone than at their local McDonald's?
The Dark Lord is here!
You know, you could have drawn in a much bigger crowd if the McRib sandwiches were around that time. Shinshin appears, and Frank offers up the sacrifices as promised, and the Dark Lord was pleased by the sustainable amount of autism. Shinshin releases Salamander Man, and Team Franku were reunited once more, as they went on to continue to do more wacky shenanigans. 4 months worth of chromosomes pass, and Shinshin was not to be seen, and Frank is getting complaints with his friends as they tell him he is being too loud lately. So Frank decides to make some new friends, which they happen to scream very loudly while coughing up chocolate all over the place. Oh yeah, quite the fun bunch if you ask me. Seriously, what the fuck is this shit? Frank made up with his old friends again, and everything seems to be back to normal. Until one day, Safari Man noticed something wrong with one of Frank's new friends. And that's just putting it lightly, because, well, take a look. Safari Man discovers Dade in the abandoned realm of Pangea 308.62, where Dade is coughing up chocolate and blood. Well, it seems like somebody had too much Dairy Queen recently. It turns out that Dade's livers were failing, and despite Frank's best efforts, nothing could be done since Dade is an extremely rare bald chocolate man. Frank decides to travel to the spirit realm and seek assistance from the shaman, a very fit little person who likes to show off his impeccable physique and feed Frank some broccoli. The shaman diagnoses Dade as he continues to writhe in pain.
Dade!
Unfortunately, the shaman is unable to help Frank, and, after a quick tussle, Frank heads to the United Realms to speak with the last person he would expect to talk to again, Shinshin. Frank will offer a lot more sacrifices to the Dark Lord in exchange for helping Dade. Shinshin agrees and summons 2 thugs to assist Franku with his quest. They head over to Neo-Pakistan to meet with Dr. Sack, who quickly shuts Frank down, unable to help him. Back at Frank's lab, he continues to look for a cure for Dade, but is quickly interrupted by a foul-mouthed racist Santa. Not to be confused with this racist Santa, mind you. So Santa and Brock Lee clash for a bit until racist Santa gives up and leaves. Meanwhile... yeah, Dad dies, in pretty much the most agonizing way possible. Rest in peace, Dade. You will be missed. What?
Why does he get to go outside?
Because it's my show.
Alright, good point.
Anyways, even though neither Dr. Sack nor Frank could save Dade, Frank still owed Chin Chin for his sacrifices. And so the Dark Lord tracked Frank and Pookie to Realm 69 in Anime City. After begging his fans for a lot more sacrifices, Frank and Pink Guy meet up with Chin Chin in the dank realm of Monoxide 12, where the exchange is about to take place. And this is the part where things really pick up. In one corner, we have our protagonist, and in the other, the Dark Lord himself. In a dark and very dank tunnel, so much tension. The anticipation is killing me. Well, not so much from that distance. Frank offers Chin Chin his bag of sacrifices, which contains a highly concentrated amount of autism. The Dark Lord is somewhat pleased. However, as always, it was not enough despite the sacrifice's filthiness. Chin Chin wants Pink Guy as well, but Frank refuses to offer up his best friend.
You can't take Pink Guy. He's been part of my clan. You can't take him. That's not fair at all. Take Pookie instead. Look at him, he doesn't do shit.
Neither do a lot of your other friends, but you still manage to keep them around. Because of Frank's refusal, the Dark Lord sends Frank to the far edge of the Omniverse, otherwise known as the Rice Fields. This is where Frank begins a long journey back on foot as he goes from realm to realm trying to find his way back home. Many millions of chromosomes have passed as Frank and Salamander Man continue their search with no end in sight. However, as the old saying goes, when in doubt, follow your nose. Or in this case, the sweet smell of gourmet sriracha shrimp as Pink Eye and Red Dick whips them up in order for Frank to follow his way back home.
Oh boy, is that the fresh smell of shrimp I smell?
Hey, there he is!
Why? You're an imposter.
An imposter? What? Yeah, it turns out that he is not the real Frank. Despite looking like him in every possible way, this fake Frank would go on to make vlogs in the real Frank's absence, along with fighting Facebook bots, robbing guys in the hood realm, and collaborating with other fellow content creators on the YouTube platform. Things like making a cake, forcing a fat person to get a tattoo on his butt cheek, and the occasional Q&A, with no one the wiser.
Yo, what it do, man?
Hey, what's going on?
How would you like to die?
I'd like it.
During this time, Pink Guy is suspicious of fake Frank's mannerisms and believes that the real Frank is still somewhere out there within the Omniverse, trying to find his way back. He can only travel one realm at a time and must return to his original coordinates each time before he can set out to the next realm. Pink Guy has been sneaking off to different realms to try and deliver his coordinates to an unknown entity who may know where the real Frank is. That is until he comes across a very strange realm scavenger known only as the Green Cunt.
Hello, Panch boy. What you do in these woods? You looking for the French? The filthy French? He's not here.
No!
This cunt interrogates Pink Guy and his stereo until he is overwhelmed by the greatness of what I can only describe it to be as someone who is a lyrical genius.
Please stop calling me gay. I touched a willy in high school once and it was just a little mistake. So please stop calling me gay. I swear I loves it.
But then again, this is also the same guy who would also boogie down to Reese's Puffs music. They both have a scrap until Salamander Man saves the day and Pink Guy gives his long-lost friend the coordinates. After having another scrap with the nefarious Tap Brothers, Fake Frank orders Pink Guy back home as he prepares his next video in pimping out a handicapped person's wheelchair. Frank would later narrate a recap as to what has transpired over the last billion chromosomes, to which during that time there has and always will be a race to see who will be the one true god. When Chin Chin gets word that Frank may have found his way back home, the Dark Lord sets out on a hunt to track down Frank's friends. Pink Guy finally meets up with Safari Man, who tells his friend that the Dark Lord is pissed off due to the lack of sacrifices. So now he is going after everyone, starting with Safari Man himself.
Yeah, I love a good gold dig in my ass. Oh, there's nothing like a good gold.
Oh boy, time to pour another one out. Chin emerges from the darkness from his folding chair as he absorbs all of Safari Man's chromosomes and sends Pink Guy to the Shadow Realm. There, he is confronted by other candidates who persuade Pink Guy to join him. With Pink Guy immobilized and Safari Man dead,
He'll have a good cold day.
Chin has truly won. Or so he thinks, as a faint voice echoes throughout the distance in the field of redemption, shouting out only 2 words.
You're gay.
That's right, folks. The Francis, known only as Filth, returns. Much like a phoenix rising from the ashes. A very, very autistic phoenix. After spending time in different realms and obtaining an S-rank tier in godhood, Frank knows the truth about Chin, that he is no god at all. Just another wannabe poser. The two scrap it out with the most epic of special effects that a free Adobe After Effects program can afford, until Chin returns back into hiding to gather his allies for another attack. Those allies just so happen to be the fake Frank, Wheels from the Pimp My Wheelchair video.
Wheels, you consider me a friend, right?
Hell no, nigga.
Well, so much for his help. And one of the Tap brothers. Frank finds his own allies in the Ghetto realm as he recruits young Upgrade, who just so happens to be Negi Generation 3000, aka the Roast Lord. Plot twist? They meet up on the rooftops of New York City where the final battle begins. It is absolute mayhem with more cheap special effects, slap fights, people getting roasted to death, and... yeah. That thing.
Stick his bitch ass,
Who
nigga.
the fuck is this? Who's he? Who the fuck is this?
You know, if there's one thing that I've learned when it comes to watching all these Filthy Frank videos is that it's better not to question every little thing that's in here. It is better just to take it all in and absorb all of the strangeness that goes on throughout this video. After Frank gives Chin an STD, he retreats back into the darkness, and the day is won as Frank and Rondale celebrate their victory. Frank would go back to his usual routine to make more videos with him attacking drones, pulling Dade down from green screen heaven to fight his evil brother, and would also get a prequel from Pink Guy chasing down a time-traveling Nazi who gets killed by a pug. Until one day, the unthinkable happens. Oh, the humanity! Pink Guy searches for Frank as he is trapped in a hole that was dug by Chin. Frank explains to Pink Guy that there is more to the Omniverse than meets the eye, and before he could go on any further, Chin himself shows up, who's about to get ready to end both of their lives. However, before he could do that, one of the Peace Lords just so happens to stop by to blow up Chin. But despite that, he is unable to help Frank as Frank slowly sinks into the darkness. But not before Frank gives Pink Guy a book of all the secrets to the Omniverse.
Pink Guy, you got it all wrong. It's not like in a sellout way or anything, you know?
He's kinda gay.
Hey, if you saw YouTube's ad revenue nowadays, it doesn't hurt to sell out every now and again.
It's happening! Here we go! Mama! Mama! Mama!
Franco!
And you could have it all. My empire of dirt.
So as Frank dies into that bottomless pit, Pink Guy is sad and runs off into the great unknown, thus concluding the great lore of the Filthy Frank Show. And I gotta say, this is actually one of the most unique type of videos that I've ever seen, which still remains one of my all-time favorites, as well as for a lot of small and large content creators who actually admire Joji's work on here. I mean, the guy does a lot of great work when it comes to putting effort into these videos, with little low quality of editing. But it's actually the low quality of editing as like the real charm of this video, along with the comedy that goes in here. Sure, there are times he does make a lot of spectacular music videos, and if you happen to watch one of Joji's latest music videos, they are without a doubt one of the greatest of editing music videos I've ever seen. But when you watch something as small and simple like the Filthy Frank Show, it just comes to show that if a guy like him can do it on a very small budget with a couple of free Adobe programs, then pretty much anybody can do it. It's actually the motivation and the determination of letting people know out there that it can be possible to make great, hilarious content with little effort. And despite Joji having his complaints with YouTube, with the algorithm and the changes that were made, it was only a matter of time for him as he mostly moved on from doing comedy skit videos to becoming a full-time musician, making music videos, and they are quite spectacular as well. Sure, people are going to have their complaints about what they like and don't like about his songs, but for a majority of people, they actually like this smooth transition. Not everybody's going to be a YouTuber forever. I mean, there's going to be a point in time where everyone's lives, including myself, will move on from video form platforms to something bigger, something greater and grander. And to be honest with you, I really don't blame Joji for making this transition. If he's happy with what he's doing and making a great career out of it, then, you know, more power to him, if you ask me. And since the last Filthy Frank video from 2 years ago, there have been a multitude of, I guess you would say, parody accounts of Filthy Frank. And by that, I mean a multitude of people trying to become the next Filthy Frank. There's Kid Filthy Frank, Black Filthy Frank, and even a Tarzan Filthy Frank. But the two biggest people to come out of these reboots are Girl Filthy Frank, aka Lotus.
If you came here to hear me slut shame, go fuck off and watch Onision.
And Filthy Frank number 2.
You guys are making me feel like jumping off of a bridge, if you know what I'm saying. Too soon? Too bad, motherfucker.
Each of them have their own unique style of edgy content, which they happen to draw in thousands of viewers and subscribers every day. It's like Into the Spider-Verse, but with autism. It is absolutely insane. The inspiration that came from one guy making comedy skit videos and memes to inspire so many others is actually absolutely crazy. And it's because of content creators like Filthy Frank that it also inspired me as well. Sure, I'm not exactly that type of edgy content guy, but you know, I like to do what I like to do. So with that said, it's always going to be a treasure in my heart. The Filthy Frank channel is one of those treasure troves on YouTube. It's better to watch it now while you still can before the YouTube's algorithm or the employees pretty much delete that channel altogether, since they've gotten rid of a lot of other edgy content creators over the past year or two. I'll leave a link for Filthy Frank's channel in the description box below if you guys want to happen to watch him. But for now, I would say this is actually one of the best ones I've ever seen. And like I said before, I'm kind of glad I reviewed this one.
Magnetrex, it's time.
Alrighty then, let me just get a few weapons out of my room.
Make it quick. I can feel his presence is near, very near.
You ain't kidding, boss. My sensors indicate something pure evil within the vicinity. Pure evil and gay.
It is the candidate. Very well. So here's the plan. What I need you to do is...
Alright, I'm here.
I can see that. I was just going over the plan with Meg Sano. As I go outside to distract him, you two hide and be ready to ambush him.
Alright, that sounds good. Only one problem.
And what would that be?
Well, for starters...
Gee, don't... What?
I'm not your Magnetrex.
You shot him.
Yes.
Wait a minute, you're not.
No, I am not. Now prepare for the end. Oh, hello on the Nostalgia Treks. I remember taking over the Omniverse, so you don't have to.
You're a what? Are you kidding me right now? Are you telling me that this candidate we've been fearing this entire time is just another alternate version of us?
For every realm there is.
Yeah, I get it. Infinite number of realms means infinite numbers of us. Speaking of which, what did you do with Magnetrex?
Oh, never you mind him. I sent him to the Shadow Realm. And soon, I'm gonna do the same to you. But first... After all these years, the last two rings are in the palm of my hand. Now, the rift is mine to control! And with Chin Chin dead, all of the internet communities in shambles, and the three rings around my fingers, I shall create a grand omniverse, one of which I will use the rift to control the overwhelming amount of autism on the internet, to have all the viewers and the communities target one another, target the ones that should be destroyed, who should live, who should die. With all of their sacrifices, I will harness each and every single molecule of all of their chromosomes to the point where I become the one true God of the Omniverse. After that, there will be no one throughout any realm in the entire Omniverse that will stand in my way. Yay! What? Really? That's your big master plan? Well, yeah. Well, let's put it from this perspective. Your idea to rule the entire Omniverse is to open up the rift to manipulate and control all of the viewers to do the bidding for you while you reap the rewards behind the scenes. It's pretty much just taking his idea, correct? Well, you see, which is why it sounds pretty gay. No originality whatsoever. Just taking someone else's idea. It's not gay!
It's Filthy Frank, motherfucker! It's Filthy Frank, bitch!
Let's get some pussy tonight.